into outdoor air pollution, can be classified into outdoor air pollution and indoor air pollution. Okay, indoor air pollution. The meaning of outdoor, who can tell me what is the meaning of outdoor air pollution?
يعني أستاذ not in the house.
Excellent.
يعني outside.
Exactly. Simply, outdoor air pollution means air pollution or the air outside. Okay? Indoor
Yeah.
air pollution, we will talk about it later, inshallah. It is the quality, the pollution of air inside your home. By the way, يعني, so many people think that pollution just outside or outdoor, but in fact, there are many things in your home that can cause pollution.
Yeah.
Okay, as you know that the air that we breathe, the air that you are breathing is a combination of different gases, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapor, and so on.
Yeah.
Okay, if you are, يعني, the quality of air are different. In the mountains, if you go to the mountains, the air fresh is fresh. But for example, if you are at the shore, you might smell the salt water. In large cities, however, the air might not be as refreshing. So the quality of the air is different according to the place.
Yeah.
In general, air pollution is a big problem where in areas where there are a lot of factories or a lot of people, where that means in large cities. But in villages or in rural areas, the air pollution is less common. تعرف شو يعني rural areas؟ يعني المناطق الريفية. Okay, so air pollution is a problem where in large areas, in cities. طيب. طيب, what are emissions?
ترى أنا نفس الوقت اللي كنت فيه أنا تمام. لا مسكر الماء.
طيب.
بالبرد.
لو سمحتوا
لازم نجففها.
طيب. Emissions. What are emissions? So when we talk about air pollution, we must mention emissions. Emissions are toxic or pollutants that are released. They are toxic or harmful substances that are released into the air. What are the sources of emissions? Like, for example, the dark smoke coming out of factories' tall chimneys. Okay? يعني emissions are pollutants or harmful substances that are released into the air. The most or example of these emissions, the dark smoke that coming out of the factories, like this. Here, these are, for example, emissions. Type here, as you see. What are the main source of pollution, of air pollution? Many years ago, the main source of air pollution is what? The smoke being pumped out of factories. Okay? يعني, this is the main source, but also there are another sources, that is the coal-fired power plants. Also, these power plants release smoke or release pollutants like carbon dioxide. Also, the vehicles, cars, vehicles, they can also release emissions. Type. This smoke that comes from the factories is loaded or full of what? Chemicals that mix with the gases in the air. طيب, today, we mean by today in the recent يعني بالأيام هاي, today most air pollution is released from coal-fired power plants and from motor vehicles. All of these are sources of emissions. Factories, coal power plants and motor vehicles. Again, what are the sources of emissions? Sources of emissions. سامعيني؟ في صوت طالع ولا لا؟
أستاذ سامعينك.
الصوت عندي علق شوي النت، معلش ويت. طيب
Which page?
page 348. Okay, emissions are pollutants. What is the meaning pollutants? يعني harmful substances, toxic substances that are released into the environment or into the air. Are pollutants that are released into the air. What are the sources of emissions? Who can help me? What are the sources of emissions? First, the factories. Okay. 2, coal power plants. and شو الآخر إشي آخر source؟ لا نايمين. شو آخر source؟ motor vehicles. All of these sources release emissions to the air. طيب. So in the past or many years ago, the main source of pollution is the smoke pumped out of factories. Also, emissions can come from coal-fired power plants and also from motor vehicles. Why emissions are harmful or dangerous? Because they contain carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide is a toxic gas, which is a pollutant. It's a pollutant, so it is toxic, it's harmful. The increasing level or the amount of carbon dioxide is the primary contributor to the rise in the average global temperatures over the past century. Who can tell me what we call this? The increase or the rise in average global temperature. ايش حكينا عنه هذا اسمه؟ سامعيني ولا لا؟
إيش أستاذ؟
اسمه جرين هاوس
سامعينك.
افكت، صح؟
سامعينك أستاذ.
بس بشوف ولا حدا بيجاوب. جرين
نعم.
هاوس افكت. The rise in the average temperature of the earth because of the pollutants like carbon dioxide. When the amount of carbon dioxide increased, when carbon dioxide increased in the atmosphere, this can cause to increase in the average global temperature. Okay, this is called the greenhouse effect. طيب. Now you may wonder that, or I want to say something that you may wonder. Can emissions come from natural resources, or are all sources of emissions come from human activities? Or in another word, can emissions come from natural resources or natural sources, sorry? The answer is yes. Not all emissions, please highlight it, not all air pollution is caused by people. So there are natural sources of pollution. But the pollution or the emissions that come from natural sources are very small. The amount of these pollutants or the amount of these emissions are very, very small compared to those are coming from people. So not all air pollution is caused by people. There are also some natural causes of air pollution. Like what? Forest fires. Forest fires can happen naturally. مين عمره سمع بحرائق بتصير بالصيف باستراليا بامريكا؟ These fires, by the way, are يعني they are naturally. These fires happen naturally. The forest fires can release large amounts of carbon dioxide. So this is a natural source. And also volcanic eruptions. Volcanoes also can release pollutants. So air pollution or emissions come from people and also come from natural causes like forest fires and volcanic eruptions. Let's take an example. For example, the Hawaiian, from Hawaii, يعني, Hawaiian volcano called Kilauea. Okay, this volcano, Kilauea, releases nearly 1,500 to 2,000 tons of harmful sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide is a pollutant into the atmosphere each day during eruptions. يعني when this volcano in Hawaii, Kilauea, erupted, it released 1,500 to 2,000 tons of this toxic substance, sulfur dioxide, each day during eruption. But you have to know that in general, however, human activities emit more than 10 times as much sulfur dioxide and more than 100 times as much carbon dioxide as all volcanoes combined. يعني, in another way, human activities contribute more to air pollution. Look at this image here. As you see, these are the sources of pollutants or the sources of emissions. طيب, who can tell me, forest fires, is this source natural or human? Forest fires, is the source of pollution natural or
أستاذ
تفضل.
في human صح؟
لا, forest fires is a natural source of pollution. Look.
مو بس humans يعني
لا,
هاي.
forest fires, most of forest fires are happens naturally, by the way.
Okay.
Because of hot temperature. طلع يا ريان. Not all
Yeah.
air pollution is caused by people. There are also some natural causes of air pollution, such as forest
fires
and volcanic eruptions. طيب. So this is, forest fires is a natural cause of pollution. Industrial emissions, شو رأيكم فيها؟ ما في حد يجاوب؟ Human, هذا it's caused by humans. Yes. طيب.
Yeah.
Motor vehicle. Humans. طب اللايف هذول الانيمالز. Did you know that they release emissions? They release what gas? Their waste, the waste of these animals releases methane. Methane is a greenhouse gas. So this is a natural source.
Yeah.
It's not caused by humans. طيب. يعني هذا exercise, look, circle the natural sources of pollution. You should put a circle and mark X on the human-made causes of pollution. طيب, where should we put X? Here. We should put X where? In human-made pollution. Here and where? Also here. فاهمين ولا نعسانين. هون هذول put
فاهمين.
x's where اللي human made. مش تخربطوا هاي طلعت عشان طلعت معي الصفحة. هون put x here and where.
وينها هاي يا أستاذ؟
استنوا شوي.
هيها شايفها.
And here put x here also. Here x and here x.
ليه؟
لأنه شو بقول لك هون circle the natural sources of pollution, mark an X on the human-made causes of pollution. طيب. Here we should put X or circle. Circle. Here circle.
سيركل عشان ناتشورال.
Natural source. وhere we should circle.
بس أستاذ فورست فايرز يعني بتزبط صح باي هيومنز؟
لا.
Yeah.
هو forest
يعني
fires
إنه it could be by humans.
طلع most of forest fires come from natural causes.
يا بس بزبط يعني من هيومنز ولا؟
مرات طبعا مرات في forest fires بتكون human. الآن exercise again. Sources of air pollution. There are two sources of air pollution. Human made and natural sources. Human made اللي هم mark an X on the human made causes like vehicles and ايش factories. هذول بنحط عليهم X here and here. بقول لك circle ايش؟ Circle the natural sources of pollution like livestock and forest fires. طيب. Now turn to the next page. ضل شوي إن شاء الله بخلص الميتينج. بس شوية يعني 10 minutes وبنخلص إن شاء الله. إحنا أي ساعة بلشنا؟ 9:30 صح؟ 10:30. طيب أوكي. smog. What is smog? مين عمره سمع بالكلمة هاي؟
إيش هو؟
smog. page.
لا والله ما عمري سمعت فيه.
طيب.
ضباب.
good. هو مش ضباب. This
ضباب
word
فوق.
comes from look smog. It is derived from two words. Smoke plus
fog.
Okay, so it is called smog. يعني two letters from here and two letters from here. So it is a smog. It is a smoke and fog. This happens. Look, if you live in a large city, يعني مش Irbid, it's not considered a large city. A large city means there are a lot of people and a lot of factories. If you live in a large city, chances are you have here the term smog alert. Okay? Chances are you have here the term smog alert. This is a warning to alert you that the amount of air pollution may make it difficult to breathe outdoors. يعني what is the meaning of this? That smog
يعني don't go out of your house أو إشي عشان
okay, يعني you have
to
to in large cities smog is very common. There are a lot of smog. Smog is dangerous. Why? Because it makes breathing difficult, especially for people who are suffering from chronic diseases, from asthma and so on. طلع. How smog forms? This is important, and I want you to highlight this. Smog forms when certain gases, some gases, and chemicals react with sunlight. طيب. What happens when these gases or chemicals react with sunlight? This results in a thick brownish. What is the meaning of brownish? Or brownish, sorry, brownish. يعني بني. Brownish from the brown color haze that hovers over a city. يعني هذا هو السموك. Please, this is a smog. It is forms when certain gases and chemicals react with sunlight. It results in a thick, it is thick. Smog is thick, brownish, haze that hovers over a city. why smog is dangerous? It can cause breathing problems and diseases of the eyes and the throat. يعني راح يعمل لك حساسية. لما بتكون بلارج سيتي وفيها سموج بتكون الكواليتي اوف ذا اير از فيري لو. الهواء بيكون سيء، يعني ما بتعرفش تتنفس، بيسبب لك وجع بعيونك، بيسبب لك وجع بحنجرتك، بيخليكاش تعرف تتنفس. طيب ليش؟ لانه في are a lot of gases, a lot of chemicals in the city because of يعني بسبب الفاكتوريز، because of a lot of people, because also of vehicles. كله بتطلع gases، هذول react with sunlight. Okay, what is the result? It is thick and brownish haze that hovers a city. Understood, شباب?
Yeah.
Yes.
What are the sources or the primary source? The main source of smog is the emissions, as I told you, emissions of cars. And as you know, in cities, some cities there are millions, in some areas of the world or in some large cities of the world, there are millions of cars. Imagine that all of these cars emit or release gases, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and so on. So the primary source of smog is the emissions of cars and the trucks. Understood? Among these emissions are chemicals called hydrocarbons. Among these emissions are chemicals called hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxide. What are hydrocarbons? Hydrocarbons are, when we say in chemistry or in science, hydrocarbons. Look, hydrocarbons.
Yeah.
طيب, hydro means hydrogen. Carbons, carbon. So these chemicals or these compounds are made from carbon and hydrogen. Example of these hydrocarbons, the methane. For example, this is an example of hydrocarbon. This is carbon atom. عارفين شو يعني carbon? It's an element. It's bonded to 4 hydrogen atoms. Okay? This is an
Okay.
example of a hydrocarbon molecule or a hydrocarbon compound. Okay, it's called methane. There are a lot of hydrocarbons, but this is an example. It is the simplest hydrocarbon, hydrogen and carbon. For this reason, they are called hydrocarbons. Hydro from hydrogen
Carbons.
and carbon. طيب. Also nitrogen oxides. Nitrogen oxide means nitrogen and oxygen. Oxide, the word oxide in science means oxygen. So nitrogen oxides are like this, NO2 for example, NO. All of these are called nitrogen oxide. N stands for nitrogen, oxygen O stands for oxygen. As you know, both of them are gases. They combine or interact with each other to form nitrogen oxides. These gases, nitrogen oxides and hydrocarbons, are emissions, are pollutants, okay? They can form or cause smog. So the primary source of smog is the emissions from cars and trucks. Among these emissions or pollutants are chemicals called hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxides. طيب. These gases, hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxides, react or combine with what? With sunlight, as we mentioned. They interact with sunlight or react with sunlight to produce a form of oxygen called ozone. Ozone
Yeah.
is a toxic to humans. يعني ozone is found in the atmosphere, but in very far from us. But when this gas, ozone, is formed close to the city or close to the air that we breathe, it is a problem. And it causes what? Lung infections. شو lung? الرئتين. And harms the body's immune system. Did you take the immune system?
Yeah. In biology.
Yes,
The defense system.
that defends you, your immune system defends or protect you against diseases.
Protects your yeah.
Yes, against microbes, against germs like coronavirus, bacteria. People who have a weak immune system are more subjected, are easily can be easily have diseases. If your immune system strong, so it will protect you against diseases and germs. Okay, طيب. So this is the smog. Smog, يعني simply, what is a smog? I want you to know what is a smog and what are the causes of smog and where it happens mainly or where it occurs. First, smog is very common where in large cities because there are a lot of emissions. What are the causes of smog? The primary source of smog are the emissions from cars and trucks. Okay, example of these emissions, the nitrogen oxides and hydrocarbons. These chemicals or these gases react with sunlight to form ozone. And ozone is, what is ozone? I want to show you what ozone. Ozone is made up of 3 atoms of oxygen linked together. This is called ozone. Notice that they are linked together. This is the structure of ozone. We mean by dash, this is a bond, chemical bond. Okay? طيب. What is a smog? It is a thick brownish haze that hovers over a city. يعني زي كأنه هواء أو خلينا نحكي طبقة من الهواء لونها بني بتغطي المدينة. طيب. Look here, please. I want you to compare between these two images. Here, what is written here? Normal conditions. In the normal conditions, يعني without pollution, without smoke, always the warm air is very close to the area, to the city, because as you know here, because of vehicles, because of breathing, this air is warm, gets warm. Okay, then it rises above, and the cold air go below or sinks down. Again, the warm air is less dense than cold air. At any time, warm air is less dense than the colder air. Under normal condition, this air rises above because it becomes less dense, and this air sinks. And the cycle repeats. This cold air warms again, and it rises above. Always, يعني in general, the air that is very close to the city is warm. But here, something called temperature inversion. In the abnormal, conditions, what happens? This cold air is still here. It doesn't. The cold air is trapped here. Why this happens? We will see now. Look. طلع under normal conditions, okay, air near the ground is heated by Earth's surface and rises up and away from the surface, as I told you. Pollutants in the air are carried up into the atmosphere by the rising air. طيب. However, under certain weather conditions, it's called temperature inversions here, like this. Under certain weather conditions called temperature inversions. يعني look here, هون normal conditions, the warm air is below and the cool air is above. But in the temperature inversions, what will happen? The cool air is still here. طيب.
Yeah.
طيب. The normal circulation at temperature inversions, the normal circulation of the air is blocked. Okay, as in figure 3, cool air becomes trapped below a layer of warm air during inversion. يعني ايش يعني inversion؟ ايش انقلب انعكس. Look here, look, normal conditions warm air, cool air, but here in temperature inversions cool air, warm air. Notice that they are the opposite. طيب. So cool air becomes trapped below a layer of warm air during an inversion. This keeps the pollutants trapped near Earth's surface and causes them to become more concentrated and dangerous. طيب. This is an يعني everything today. طيب, let's do this exercise. What are the main sources of air pollution and how do they cause smog? يلا, who can tell me what are the main sources of air pollution? According to...
أستاذ
يلا تفضلي ناتالي.
أستاذ vehicles
Yes, emissions that
industrial
come from...
emissions
Yes, ايش كمان كملي؟
و factories
بس هون مثلا smoke يعني اكثر شيء احنا we are talking about smog. Emissions هيو emissions of cars and trucks.
and trucks.
Thank you very much. طيب, مين بيقول لي the second part of the question, how do they cause smoke? على فكرة حكيناها and it is mentioned in the text. How do these emissions or pollutants cause smoke? This is the answer. These emissions, these gases, يعني like hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxide, react with what? In the sunlight to produce a form of oxygen called ozone. This is how smog happens or forms.
إيش نكتب يا أستاذ؟
خلص راح ابعث لكم الانسرز بعدين, بس I want you to know that the smoke forms from certain gases or emissions اللي هم زي الهيدروكربونز والنيتروجين oxides. They react with
Yes.
sunlight. طيب, again, what are the main sources of air pollution? Generally, the main sources of air pollution are the emissions of what? Of cars and trucks. طيب, how do they cause smog? Because these gases or these emissions like carbon, hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxide react in sunlight to form ozone, and ozone is a toxic to human and to all organisms. As you see here is the under normal conditions. As you see, the warm air is closer to the surface and the cool air is above, but in the temperature inversion, the cool air trapped here, and this is very bad because it traps the pollutants. Tomorrow, inshallah, مش tomorrow, in the see you inshallah Sunday, we will talk about acid rain. Acid rain is also a type of outdoor air pollution. يعني when we talk about outdoor air pollution, we mean acid rain, smog, and the emissions. All of these are examples of outdoor air pollution. Do you have any comments?
No.
طيب, إن شاء الله.
No.
يلا, have a nice weekend إن شاء الله. See you.
Thank you, teacher.
يلا, goodbye.
Bye.
Teacher.
Goodbye. يلا, goodbye.
Bye. يلا باي أستاذ.
goodbye. See you. خلص اللي بده يطلع. أنا فكرت حالي عملت لها end.